Hey guys, in today's video, we're going to go over the top 3 financial planning mistakes that I see teachers make. So this is a list I've comprised over the course of my career. And the point of the video is to let you guys know what the top mistakes are so you can do a better job at planning for your retirement by avoiding these key mistakes. So let's dive right into it. So mistake number 1 is not having a plan. Financial planning all comes down to having a strategy for all the different scenarios out there. And it really doesn't take as much time as many people think. A lot of people just get overwhelmed by the thought of it, often put it off. And I don't blame you guys. It's not your job to be doing this kind of thing, which is why you can go out and have an advisor help you plan. And the earlier you start planning, the better off you're going to be in the long run. So what most people do is they'll start saving, but they kind of jump around a bit. They'll have money in Plan 3, they'll have money in DCP, 403Bs, usually a couple different 403Bs. They hear about Bitcoin, they have money in Bitcoin. So by the time they get to close to retirement, they have all this stuff, right? All these different investment options, maybe some real estate in there, but they really don't know kind of what to do with it, right? So they look at all the stuff that they've accumulated and they're like, okay, what can I do with this, to make a plan with it? And how can that help me meet my goal, right? And really it should be flipped. Usually when we work with clients, it's what our goals are, what do we need to do to implement that? And then investments is like the last piece we look at. So if you were to look at a food pyramid, investments would actually be the little tip at the top there. So it's still an important piece, but not as important as many people make it out to be. What you should really be focusing on are the big things. So what is my strategy for collecting my pension, right? And that's going to depend on your situation. Do you plan on going to your full retirement age? Are you going to retire early and collect early and take that penalty? So you need to have strategies for all those different things, right? So the pensions are one that you're going to have to consider. Social Security is a big one. There's many different Social Security claiming strategies, and just collecting at 62 because it's the earliest or waiting to 70 isn't always the best answer for everybody. So you need to have an actual strategy in mind of when I'm going to collect my Social Security and know how it incorporates with your pension. And a lot of people get the pension and Social Security numbers mixed up because they're quite similar. So you want to make sure you get those two things separated and have a strategy for each one. Next thing to plan for is taxes. Taxes are a huge expense in retirement. So you need to have a plan in place of how you're going to pay for the tax bill, right? Most of us have pensions, right, if you're working for the state, and Social Security. So that's a lot of pre-tax income, right? All that is taxable still. And then we have money in Plan 3, DCP 403s, again, all taxable. So when I take money out for those, it's going to change where I am tax-wise. So what is your strategy to help reduce your taxable income in retirement and just your overall lifetime tax bill? What can you do to pay less to the IRS essentially? So you need to have plans in place for that. Other planning points are things like long-term care, right? So long-term care is a huge bill, right? That's why the state has been pushing to make a mandated insurance pool. You look at the statistics, about 70% of people are estimated to use some form of long-term care insurance, but most people choose to pay it out of pocket. And when you look at the stats, right, we all have car insurance, we all have home insurance, and the chance of using any of those is less than 20%. And if the chance of long-term care is 70%, wouldn't it make sense to actually look at buying insurance policies? At least considering it. Now, I'm not saying you have to buy it. You just need to have a plan for it, right? I really don't care if you either buy a policy, self-fund, or you want to back it up with real estate. You need to have some kind of plan in place to cover this. You don't want to wait for that time to come and then be like, oh, now what do I do? Right? So you want to plan ahead. The next planning point is, what do I do when markets go down? Right? So this year we've seen the markets tumble 20%, and it could continue for years to come. No one really knows. So what is your plan to deal with those kind of down markets, and does that throw off your retirement plan? So lately, the last 2 financial plans I've worked on, I actually left the client's rate of return projection at 0%. I said, if you retired today and you're in absolutely nothing, right? We moved it all into cash. Could you still retire? And for these clients who are really good at savings, the answer was yes, they could. They could retire because they worked for the state for a long time and they had their expenses under control, that they were able to retire, earn absolutely nothing on their performance in their investments and still make it okay, right? So that's kind of more of a conservative approach. So when you're doing your projections for retirement planning, you want to use more of a conservative number because the financial markets are things we can't control, and you don't want to be too positive or overhyped on them in the event that they don't work out. Because remember, it's not a matter of if the market will go down again, it's when and for how long, right? So a financial plan incorporates all of those together. Again, nothing you have to do on your own. Go ahead and hire a financial planner. That's what their job is putting that all together for you. Now, you see, I didn't really mention investments. That's because, like I said, investments are a small piece of it. That can also be a part of it. Once you've answered all the other questions, then you can look at how am I going to be invested after that. Mistake number 2 is waiting too long to start saving. All right, so this one I see probably the most often. It's many people that they get to retirement like, man, I wish I would have started saving earlier. I wish I would have learned about a DCP or 403B account earlier, right? So I'm telling you now, all these options exist, right? As the employees, you have your pension plan, but you also have deferred compensation plans and 403Bs in addition to doing Roth IRA accounts. So there's no shortage of options to save. Now, the trick is to start doing it as soon as possible. We all have this mentality of, I'll do it later, right? I'll do it when my kids are older, right? When I can afford to do it, when the house is paid off, when the car is paid off. It's always something else, right? It's always pushing it down the road. But you gotta remember that time in the market is better than timing the market. So the sooner you get into it, you're gonna be better off than waiting until things get better. Because usually by the time things get better, we only have 20, maybe 15 years left retirement, and that's usually not enough time for the money to compound. If you had someone that put $100 a month into an account at 25 versus someone that put $100 a month at 35, there's that 10-year difference there. And you fast forward to when they're both 65, the 25-year-old would have roughly 162,000, right? That's assuming a 5% rate of return. The 35-year-old would have only about 89,000. So the person that started 10 years earlier only put in an additional $12,000, but he has nearly double what the person at 35 had. And that's the power of compound interest. So that's why it's important to keep putting money into the market and investing this whole time. Paying down debt is great. Remember that when we pay off debt, we have an interest rate on the balance, but every year we pay it down, the interest rate is only being based on the current balance, right? So as we pay off the debt, the amount of money going to interest also goes down. Whereas when we invest, it works the opposite. We're earning compound interest on the balance each year. So that's a growing asset, liabilities are falling assets. So debt's an important thing to consider, but oftentimes when we have low interest rates, 3-4%, putting all of our energy and focus towards paying that off usually isn't going to reap you the most long-term benefit when compared to investing for the long run. So that's mistake number 2, is just putting off savings until you're way too close to retirement and you're really not investing early enough. All right, now critical mistake number 3 is not seeking the right help. So there's a couple of parts to this. So seeking the right help means when you go to someone for advice, you want to make sure that they're qualified in the sense that not only are they just a licensed advisor with the pulse, that they actually understand your situation, right? They are familiar with your state benefits. Your benefits are unique. They're not like anything else. If you go to someone that works with teachers, but also works with doctors and mechanics and pretty much anyone that walks to their office, they're generalists. They're not really going to spend a lot of time knowing your benefits, your situation, and knowing the little tricks of how to get you to retire earlier or what your benefit options are. So oftentimes you can be left out of things that you could have done to improve your situation. And it's really because they're generalists, right? It's like going to your general practitioner. They're not the ones performing surgery on you. They have the general knowledge and give you the recommendations to the right person. So when it comes to retirement planning and state employees, you need to find somebody that has the unique skill set in your area so you don't miss opportunities that could help improve your situation or add years to your retirement, right? So can you find the right help? Second part to that is when it comes to choosing providers, right? A lot of people will gravitate to the cheaper options, right? We always want to save money. So I see a lot of people invest in Fidelity and Vanguard, right? Those are the 2 big ones because it's easy, right? You can go online yourself, set it up. It's relatively inexpensive, right? But it's kind of like anything else you find in life. You get what you pay for, right? Those companies are in the business of providing the lowest amount of service for the lowest amount of fees, right? That's why you pay nothing on them. What people often fail to realize is those companies are product providers. You buying a Vanguard or Fidelity mutual fund is because that's all they offer you typically. So you can't go in there and buy Apple stock or Microsoft stock. You can't go to Vanguard and ask for a Fidelity investment. You're just locked to what they provide, right? Their type of mutual funds. Doesn't matter if someone else outperforms them or has a cheaper fund, you're kind of locked in that place. So, and when it comes time to close retirement, you're like, hey, can you help me project things? No one at Vanguard is going to understand what your options are as a state employee. You ask them tax questions, they're going to tell you to go find a tax professional. They're not going to touch it, right? That's not what they're performing, right? That's not what you're paying them for. You pay for a cheap service, you get a cheap service. As the saying goes, you can either get something that's done cheap, done well, or done fast. Vanguard and Fidelity, they're on the cheaper side of thing. If you need something that's going to perform a lot better as far as financial plan goes, then you're probably going to have to pay more for it, right? Not saying you have to go and find the most expensive person out there, but find the good value, right? Just like when it comes to the car you drive, the home you live in, the doctor you see, or the attorneys you hire, I'm sure they're not the cheapest options, right? But they're also not the most expensive either, right? You found something within your budget that seemed like a good deal. And when going for financial planning help, you should also use the same thing here, right? Choosing somebody to chart your course with your entire life savings is not an area you want to skimp on, right? Putting the money up to have an advisor that's competent in your benefits, knows the tax planning strategy, keeps up to date in Congress, is worth far more than what they charge. And in the event that they're not, you can always move, right? You're not married to any advisor at any one time. So take the time to find the right help for you. Find someone that knows your benefits, find someone that can offer you planning advice, and just don't go for the cheapest thing out there because it's the most convenient, right? So the most convenient thing is like going to the gas station, right, to buy milk, but it's probably not the cheapest, the best value, right? That's why we always go to the bigger box stores. So apply the same logic here. Find someone that gives you the most amount of value for the fair price. And that's what you're going to find the most success in the long run in. All right, so that was the top 3 mistakes that I've seen people make over the course of their career. Now, a bonus one for you. Remember that as state employees, you guys are 100% responsible for choosing your own investments when it comes to Plan 3 and your DCP. So many people really don't know what to choose. They often default to the WSIB TAP fund or one of those 2030, 2040 target date funds. Most times those are generalist funds. They're not specifically designed for you. So we've went ahead and created a service that can give you individualized advice on what's going to work best for you inside of those accounts. So what we did is just take out all the guesswork for you. So you become a member of the service. It's just a subscription model, cancel anytime you want. You get actionable advice on what investments you should be holding in your account and when to make changes. And you can always change your risk tolerance level anytime you want to. If you don't know what you want to be risk-wise, we have a short quiz and I'll give you a recommendation on what model would work best for you. So this is a service that I started about a year ago. It's been a big hit with all of my clients because they no longer have to think or worry about managing their own investments or just hoping that the state's 2030 fund is going to provide for them and having all of their net worth inside this one fund. So if you want to check it out, the link is in the description below. It's just called Plan 3 and DCP Advice. I made it really straightforward. Go ahead and check it out if you'd like. I'll see you guys next week. Remember that your future depends on what you do today.